I'm tracking areas of rain and snow here across Utah right now. Coming up, what you can expect for your Tuesday morning commute, and also how low our snow levels will drop.
The snowpack and the Great Salt Lake.
We want to see the lake level to fall back to what we perceive as normal.
We look at the balance between the shrinking lake effect snow for our mountains, and if the watershed we depend on is in jeopardy.
Gabi and I, we are really close.
A local radio DJ's life lost too soon. The legacy she leaves behind and how her family hopes her story can help other women.
I never thought that would be possible.
She began to doubt her dream. Then this Utah teen got a surprise visit.
I didn't have a lot of support when I wanted to get into this career.
How the girl's father and a new friend inspired her in a story that is positively Utah.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
After a brief warm-up, we are seeing more cold, stormy weather in Utah tonight and even snow in some parts. Fox 13 is tracking it all in this winter weather alert. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kelly Chapman. Bob has the night off. Let's go ahead and bring in Allison Krogan with a closer look at the storm and what comes next.
Well, it certainly has arrived for many of you here across the state. We've had areas of snow down towards Cedar City and all the way up into the Cache County. So satellite and radar right now, we are seeing still some heavy rainfall from Ogden up towards Brigham City, up towards I-84. Here across the Salt Lake Valley, things have calmed down a little bit, but this might be a little deceiving because it's actually going to ramp up again in the overnight hours. Right now, what we're seeing, Cottonwood Canyons have our snowfall. Parley's Canyon up towards Kimball Junction. That's where we're going to start seeing some more snow moving into the Park City area, but mainly looking at our biggest impacts overnight and into early tomorrow morning. So temperatures right now noticeably colder compared to this time yesterday. We're in the upper 40s for Salt Lake, mid 40s for Ogden, 48 for Logan, and 44 currently in Provo. And our wind has calmed down here across the state. But Futurecast brings us the chance for even some thunderstorms into our overnight hours here along the Wasatch Front. So we'll talk about how much snow you can expect here across the state, where those snow levels will be, and what you can expect for your morning commute.
Allison, thanks. The storm has arrived, and it certainly is good for Utah to see snow so early in the season. But is this an indicator for what's to come for the remainder of the winter season? Fox 13's Brian Schneed joins us live tonight out in the elements to look at how drought and low water levels at the Great Salt Lake could impact snow at some nearby resorts. Hi, Brian.
Kelly, good evening to you. Some light but steady snow coming down here in the town of Alta. Of course, this area known for Alta's ski area, which gets its fair share of lake effect snow, which is produced over the Great Salt Lake. But with the shrinking lake, we wanted to know, how does that impact all of this?
It's the October scene in the Wasatch Mountains. Snow already piling up on the slopes before the lifts even start spinning.
Those storms can help a lot get the ski season going.
When it's not a major front moving through northern Utah, it's the lake effect snow that makes this area so special.
So the resorts in the central Wasatch, southeast of the Great Salt Lake, get the most lake effect snow. On average, it's about 5% a year. It's not as big of a number as people think.
The lake effect can pack a punch, dumping lots of snow in a short amount of time. But is the lake effect in jeopardy with the shrinking Great Salt Lake?
We're in a drought now, not because of the lake being small. The lake being small is because of the drought, and also the fact we're using a lot of water that would normally go to the lake.
You need moist cold air intrusions to create the lake effect, but you also need the water. Here's a look at the recent rise and fall of the Great Salt Lake levels over the past few years, with a prediction from the Utah Climate Center showing those lake levels continuing to drop off.
We want to see the lake level to fall back to what we perceive as normal. We probably need about 170% of precipitation falling down. And that means all the water will end up being in the lake for this coming winter. But we know that's the odds of that is slim.
Lake effect snow typically takes place from October through December, but it's extremely difficult to predict for meteorologists. Right now, without any hard data, it's tough to tell if the shrinking Great Salt Lake will play a noticeable part in that snow deposited at high elevations.
If we can keep the storms coming and we build up the snowpack quickly, then that's a best case scenario for the ski season.
Again, the lake effect snow does impact the snowpack here at resorts, especially those in Little Cottonwood Canyon. Only about 5 to 10%, though, of the snowpack is believed to actually come from lake effect snow. Now, earlier this afternoon, much heavier snow coming down in this canyon. Tonight, some light, steady snowfall here in the town of Alta. Brian Cheney, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Gabby and I, we are really close. So sometimes I can feel her, you know.
The family of a Taylorsville woman cannot come to terms with her death as police continue to search for her suspected killer tonight. People knew Gabby Ramos as a local Spanish radio DJ. Gabby moved from Mexico 3 years ago in pursuit of a better life before she was shot and killed on Saturday night. Fox 13's Emily Tenser spoke with Gabby's friends and family about how she will be remembered.
At the La Mas Picosita radio station, noon to 4 is DJ Gabby Ramos' slot.
Right now, she would be on air. She was here.
Instead, her booth and her desk is empty.
She was my first person on the office for tag or say good morning. My mornings is not gonna be any more like every single morning was.
Her co-workers say Ramos worked her last shift hours before she was killed.
And she was fine. She was happy. She was excited.
En Salt Lake City, teléfonos.
Ramos was in this room Saturday night with her sister, Rocio Cifuentes, discussing their dreams and ambitions.
We were planning a lot of things to do it together.
That's when Cifuentes says they heard Ramos's ex, Manuel Perea, at the door.
Gabby opened the door and he yelled at her and just pulled the gun out and shoot her.
Taylorsville police are searching for Perea. He was last seen in a 2000 Chevy full-size extended cab with license plate number U45MN. Anyone with information should call 801-743-7000. Her loved ones say Ramos used her platform to empower women. They hope her story can inspire others to get out and find help.
And she never thought that that person who's supposed to love her gonna hurt her really bad.
We just want justice for Gabby.
There is a vigil here on Autumn Park Drive Tuesday night at 5 p.m. in honor of Gabby. People are encouraged to wear bright colors in honor of her bright personality. There's also a GoFundMe set up to help with funeral expenses and her daughter. You can find a link to that at fox13now.com. Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, there are resources available. Just call the number on your screen, 1-800-897-LINK. That's 1-800-897-5465. If you are ever in immediate danger, call 911. South Salt Lake police are hoping you can help identify the man seen in these pictures. Take a look. He was seen on camera chasing teens around the Maverick located at 3260 South West Temple. He then followed the teens into the parking lot. No one was hurt in the incident, but police would like to talk to him. That man is described as a Native American between the ages of 40 and 50 years old. He was wearing a dark jacket, blue jeans, and glasses. If you have any information that can help police, please give them a call. An unsettling find in a Bountiful man's yard. Chris Simonson recently discovered 10 of his chickens had been killed, and a veterinarian autopsy showed the killer had to be human. Plus, the killer also had to open 3 doors to get into the chicken's enclosure.
There were no signs of an animal bite, scratch, anything. No signs of a fight, nothing.
Chris says he has heard from neighbors about similar attacks. He encourages everyone to say something if they see something. Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall is recommending that $10 million of the city's American Rescue Plan funds should go to child care, early childhood education, and workforce training for parents. The Salt Lake Economic Development Department teamed up with the University of Utah's Sorensen Impact Center to find what would build economic strength among residents and the city.
The center spent most of the last year researching what interventions would be game changers for our residents. Their phase 1 findings point to 2 specific investments that we should make to lift up our society and our economy as a whole. Those 2 are early childhood education and workforce training that's prioritized for single mothers.
Now the city council needs to approve the mayor's recommendations. Salt Lake City is set to receive about $85 million from the American Rescue Plan of the Biden administration. $55 million of that is intended to go to the city budget.
Coming up on Fox 13 News at 9.
We rank 44th in the nation for being on time with our yearly screening mammograms.
Has the pandemic thrown breast cancer screenings off track in Utah? What we're learning about the lasting impacts this past year and a half has made on women's health.
The Utah State Legislature is considering bills dealing with cybersecurity and data privacy.
Weeks after Hurricane Ida, Salt Lake County employees are in Louisiana, how they're helping the smallest victims.
His daughter had changed her screensaver on her phone to a picture of us.
And hear about an inspiring interaction between a young girl and a Kaysville police officer that's positively Utah.
Does Donovan Mitchell need to elevate his game for the Jazz to win a championship? We'll hear from the Jazz All-Star coming up.
Welcome back, everyone. It is another night of inclement weather here in Utah. You're taking a live look from the roads from the Fox 13 Nissan Weather Beast. It's headed right now toward Kimball Junction. It was in Park City in the Main Street area just a few moments ago. We did see snow coming down there. Fox 13 meteorologist Allison Krogan will have your first alert forecast coming up in just a few minutes. A new report on Salt Lake City's housing market is promising for sellers, but not so exciting for people looking for a new home. According to the latest RE/MAX National Housing Report, Salt Lake City ranks second in the U.S. for the largest increase in home sale prices by just more than 27% since last year. The median price for a home in the city is just under $500,000. Realtors say, however, this does not have to mean the average home buyer will be pushed out.
Focus on the fundamentals of financing when you purchase, so that the money that you have down, your offer price, your financing itself is as solid as it possibly can be before you even kind of think about making an offer.
Also, over the last year, sales of homes in Salt Lake City are down by nearly 15%. Now, despite this, homes for sale in Salt Lake generally only stay on the market for 19 days. We are learning more deaths from breast cancer could be a ripple effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. October right now is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and doctors are saying if you delayed getting an annual screening, don't wait any longer. Fox 13's Eliana Sheriff spoke to a breast cancer survivor who shares her firsthand experience with finding and surviving breast cancer during the pandemic.
I thought I would be more prepared being a nurse, but when you're the patient, it's completely different.
While Bryn Haskell has spent over 20 years as a nurse helping others through some of their hardest times, she couldn't prepare for her own cancer diagnosis.
I was sure it was nothing.
After finding a lump on her breast, Bryn decided to get it looked at. Sure enough, it was cancer. And because of the pandemic limiting the number of people inside the hospital, she braved much of her fight alone, including the moment she found out she had cancer.
It was hard to hear that, and then to go out to the car and tell my husband, sorry, I have cancer.
A month after her diagnosis, she opted to have both breasts removed.
Still that fear of waking up after surgery and hearing, oh, it's spread, or we found something else. And then just to wake up and not have your breasts anymore.
Fortunately, it didn't spread, and Bryn is now cancer-free in remission. She is grateful she caught it early thanks to yearly mammograms.
The mammogram itself takes no longer than 10 minutes. They take 4 images, 2 of each breast, and you only have to do it once a year starting at age 40. However, in Bryn's case, she started before the age of 40 because she knew she had a family history.
Really a miracle I caught it when I did, just because it had only been a year since my last mammogram.
Bryn is confident if she would have delayed her screening, her cancer would have spread. That's why making screenings a priority is crucial, especially here in Utah.
We rank 44th in the nation for being on time with our yearly screening mammograms.
Dr. Catherine Everton says getting checked annually can be the difference between having to get a more aggressive treatment. It could also save your life.
And this little white dot here is actually a very aggressive cancer. When we catch them small like this before a woman has symptoms, they're almost always completely treatable.
A new study found by 2030 there may be an additional 2,500 cancer deaths due to a delay in screenings because of the pandemic. Dr. Everton says if you skipped your screening, it's okay, but make an appointment.
And so we are here to make sure that women get back on track.
Eliana Sheriff, Fox 13 News, Utah. Dr. Everton there says many women are under the mistaken notion that if you do not have a history of breast cancer in your family, that you're not at risk. She says 3 out of 4 breast cancer findings are in women with no family history. Doctors do recommend a yearly screening for all women, regardless of family history, starting at 40 years old. Well, you know this, as temperatures start to drop, there is an increased need for warm clothing for Utah families. 3 local businesses, the Bank of Utah, Arctic Circle, and Red Hanger, are joining forces with several charities for the Warm Bodies, Warm Souls clothing drive. Items that are needed include warm coats, hats, scarves, blankets, new underwear, and more. These items will go to thousands of families all across the state.
Give what you can. We know everybody can't give, huge amounts of money or whatever, but if you're going through your clothes and you find out that you do have a coat that is in great condition and doesn't fit your kids anymore, or even an adult or boots or whatever it might be, please bring those down. They are absolutely needed.
Pass it along. You'll feel so good for doing so. The drive does run until November 12th. We will post the link to where you can donate on our website at fox13now.com.
Okay, so Kelly, I know it was a gorgeous start to the day. Then we had the clouds that moved in. Then we had a bit of a break and we had a spectacular sunset. I'm getting a lot of pictures sent in from across the valley. This picture from Chris Williams, who always sends us fantastic pictures. But wow, wish I could have seen that. I was here in the studio in the office tracking the storm because we will end up with some impacts in the overnight hours. But right now, 47 degrees here in Salt Lake. Obviously, it's dark outside. The sun has gone down and we have full visibility again. It did drop to a couple of miles earlier today as the bulk of that storm was moving through earlier this evening. But right now what we're tracking, we'll go ahead, start north, work our way down towards the Wasatch Front. So right now, Garland through Brigham City, areas of rain for the valleys, snow for the mountains. Sardine still looks pretty decent. Looking across the Salt Lake Valley right now, we're starting to get a little bit of snow moving through Kimball up towards Parley's Summit. Still a little bit of rain mixed in. And the lower half of that drive, it's 7,000 to 8,000 feet tonight where we're going to see our worst driving conditions this evening. Southern Utah, we had snow that came down Parowan for Cedar City. Right now what we're seeing is rain for Hanksville, Canyonlands, Green River, East Carbon. We're seeing some snow. You can't really see it because of the banner there, but Moab, seeing valley rain, mountain snowfall. But here's what you need to know. We do have a winter weather advisory. This will be in place until noon tomorrow for everything highlighted in this purplish blue color. So this is for above 8,000 feet. We're expecting 6 to 12 inches of snow, but we will have some tougher driving conditions down towards about 7,000 feet, and it could be slushy below that. So the snow levels will likely drop to about 5,000 feet at some point overnight. But the locally higher amounts will be near Snow Basin, Upper Cottonwoods, and the western Uintas, and we'll see some wind gusts 35 miles per hour. Now, what you need to know is an interesting setup with our storm is that we're not going to be in that lake effect snow just because of the location of our low pressure system. Now, what it feels like right now here across the state is about 30 to 45 degrees. It's chilly out there. Tomorrow morning, close to about 40 to 45 when you first wake up here in Salt Lake City. Benches, we saw a little bit of snow this afternoon. We'll end up seeing the snow levels dropping yet again to about 5,000 or 5,500 feet into the overnight hours. So when you first wake up tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., around 40 degrees for Provo, 43 for Salt Lake, 44 for Ogden, upper 30s for Logan. There's a good chance that a lot of our valleys mostly see rain, a little bit of that snow mix in, unless those temperatures really start to drop. Highs tomorrow about 50 degrees here across the state. But you'll notice that we're seeing this counterclockwise motion with this area of low pressure. So just with what we're going to be seeing in the overnight hours, won't be lake effect on the east side of the lake. So in the overnight hours by about 2-3 a.m., that's when we're going to see the possibility of some thunderstorms again in our overnight hours. And also heavier rainfall sometimes can lead to some snowfall getting mixed in. So we'll keep our eye on that. For St. George, you're close to 70 tomorrow, upper 70s starting on Thursday. So we will have some nice fall weather ahead tomorrow, about 50 for a high. Rain here in Salt Lake, upper 60s by Thursday. We'll talk more about how much snow we can expect tonight coming up later in the hour.
Chilly overnight lows. Allison, thanks. Still ahead, the world now reacting to the death of former Secretary of State Colin Powell. How Utahns are remembering his legacy and impact.
Jury selection gets underway for the trial of 3 men accused of killing Ahmaud Arbery. I'm Laura Engel. That story coming up.
In national news tonight, jury selection got underway Monday in the trial of 3 men accused of killing Ahmaud Arbery. Fox's Laura Engel has more on the questioning of the first groups of prospective jurors.
Lawyers in the Ahmaud Arbery murder case beginning the painstaking process of selecting a jury to hear the case of the 3 men accused of killing him while he was out for a run in February 2020.
You shall give true answers to all questions.
In groups of 20, jurors were sworn in and questioned Monday afternoon, the first of a pool of 600 potential jurors reporting for jury duty in Brunswick, Georgia, with another 400 on reserve. From that pool, jurors will be selected to hear the cases of father and son Greg and Travis McMichael and their neighbor William Roddy Bryan, who are each facing 9 charges.
Have you any prejudice or bias resting on your mind, either for or against the accused?
When the judge asked the first panel if they could be neutral in the case, one person raised their hand, and when probed, only one young male said they wanted to serve on the jury. The judge dismissed 3, including a law enforcement officer, before moving to individual questioning. Prosecutors say Arbery was simply jogging in a residential neighborhood when he was pursued by the McMichaels. Travis allegedly shot him 3 times at close range with a shotgun. Bryan is accused of joining the chase and recording the graphic video of the killing that led to the arrest of all 3 more than 2 months after the fatal incident. Defense attorneys say they committed no crimes and that Travis fired the gun in self-defense after Arbery attacked him. All 3 men pleaded not guilty to all charges. Attorneys on both sides expect the task of seating 12 jurors and 4 alternates to be challenging, likely taking around 2 weeks. In New York, Laura Engel, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Coming up after the break.
Looking at what we need to do in the future to ensure that we are well protected. The legislature will take up bills dealing with cybersecurity and your private information.
Animal service workers are in Louisiana, how they are helping recovery after Hurricane Ida.
Obviously not feeling all that great about the loss.
I loved it. You didn't love the penalty, but I love the juice and the emotion and the passion.
Coming up, we'll hear from the Utah and BYU football teams and Donovan Mitchell as he gets ready to start his 5th season in the NBA.
Give consumers the right to know what their data is being used for by these various companies, how to opt out of that potentially, and what the recourse is if their data is used inappropriately.
On Utah's Capitol Hill, a pair of bills are being considered on data privacy and internet security. As Fox 13's Ben Winslow reports, the bills will have a big impact on your life.
There are billions of attacks a day on our state government, our universities. Lawmakers are exploring potential bills to improve security for both government systems and consumers.
It's a real threat, and we know how dependent all of us are on technology.
Representative Stephen Handy is proposing a bill to create a statewide cybersecurity task force to bring together resources from private industry and government. He may ask for funding to improve the state's information security.
Shoring up, preventing, looking at what we need to do in the future to ensure that we are well protected in the state of Utah, primarily talking about government.
The state obviously has a lot of data on all of us, but so does private business.
We need a framework in Utah so that businesses know how to operate here and know that they're operating within the bounds of the law so they're not subject to potential liabilities or lawsuits from consumers. But by that same token, we want consumers to have their rights protected and to be able to have recourse when businesses are doing things that they didn't disclose or are doing unlawfully.
Senator Kirk Cullimore is considering a bill that would be similar to California and Europe's data privacy laws, spelling out to you, the consumer, what your data is used for. He says a lot of other states are quickly adopting data privacy laws, and Utah needs to as well. A similar bill he proposed last session did not advance.
What we'd like to see is that anybody who has to comply with California's Consumer Privacy Act will already be in compliance. And so potentially Utah will be a little bit less onerous, frankly, a little more business friendly, while still providing consumers that recourse through the business and through other state agencies.
Now, these bills are just in concept form and won't be considered until the legislative session begins in January. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A new audit says Utah's Department of Health is more beholden to the federal government than to the state legislature. That's because 70% of its budget is federal money. But even lawmakers acknowledged it may be on them for not spelling out priorities to tackle.
A lot of this is the Department of Health's responsibility, but a lot of this is actually our responsibility.
Still, however, the legislative audit was slightly critical of the agency for not doing more to innovate and try new things, calling the state health department the agency of no. Utah Governor Spencer Cox and Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson were at the Utah Food Bank today, assembling kits for refugees, people experiencing homelessness, and foster families. All the goods were donated by Procter & Gamble in conjunction with Hispanic Star. That's to help families all across the state of Utah. Fortunately, through the Utah Food Bank, volunteering is really easy.
So there's an incredible network that's already set up that allows us to take advantage of that. And so the private sector can donate these goods. Volunteers can come and help sort them, which is what we've been doing this morning. And now we'll be putting them into bags and kits and then shipping them out. And so we just feel really fortunate to have an organization like the Utah Food Bank that allows us to help so many people so quickly.
The governor says these efforts are essential as we continue to recover from the pandemic and as hundreds of Afghan refugees are set to arrive in Utah in the coming weeks. Utah Governor Spencer Cox has ordered flags be flown at half-staff today following the news that former Secretary of State Colin Powell has passed away at the age of 84. Powell was a trailblazer. He was the first black chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was later serving as the first black Secretary of State. He is one of the few people to earn the Presidential Medal of Freedom twice. Utah lawmakers are responding to the news of Powell's death. Senator Mike Lee tweeted in part, quote, his career defending American liberty and national security transcended politics. He was a patriot of the highest order. Senator Mitt Romney tweeted in part, quote, a statesman and trailblazer devoted to America and the cause of liberty. Colin Powell's legacy of service and honor will long inspire. And Congressman Burgess Owens tweeted that Powell was an extraordinary public servant and steadfast leader for our country. A team of animal service workers from Salt Lake County are in Louisiana tonight helping in the recovery 6 weeks after Hurricane Ida. Fox 13's Haley Higgins talks to them about helping some of the smallest victims.
When the call to help hurricane-damaged New Orleans came, Randy Luker didn't think twice.
There's definitely still cleanup happening here. The rest of the world has kind of forgotten about it.
On Monday, she and 3 others respond to animal control calls in southern Louisiana, taking over for only 2 local animal control workers in the area.
Because they were short-staffed before Hurricane Ida even hit. And so then Ida hit, they lost some trucks, they lost some equipment, and they ended up, even further behind than they had been.
After driving 27 hours in 2 Salt Lake County trucks, the teams also provide care to shelter animals while helping reunite lost pets with their owners. Hurricane Ida was among the strongest storms ever to hit Louisiana, second only to Hurricane Katrina.
You can see on this roof over here, it's a little bit beat up.
Since the storm in early September, intake at the local shelters is up 25%. Thousands of animals still out on the street.
We all wanted this experience. We all love to help people. We love to, just pitch in and get things done and make sure that everybody's taken care of because I mean, I guess that's just who we all are.
In a statement, the Louisiana SPCA writes, quote, "It means the world to us to have other areas across the country recognize that our neighbors are still in need of help in New Orleans."
The team will make their way home early next week, and as for bringing back any animals with them, they say they're not going to do that because the shelters in Salt Lake County are already full. Reporting in Salt Lake County, Haley Higgins, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Utah's Mighty Five were mighty popular this year, and that's despite missing a lot of typical visitors. Coming up, we go in depth on the numbers.
And coming up, I'm tracking rain and snow here across our state right now, when I think it's going to ramp up tonight and if it will impact your morning commute.
Welcome back, everyone. In southern Utah, Cedar City Mayor Miley Wilson Edwards recently sent out a message saying that she has tested positive for COVID-19. In a post made from her personal Facebook account, Wilson Edwards said that she and her husband Jason, along with their baby daughter, were all experiencing different symptoms and varying levels of severity. She is currently self-quarantining with her family for the time being. Utah's so-called Mighty Five national parks have seen 9.5 million visitors so far this year. That's close to 3 times the population of the state itself. The big number is interesting, but looking inside the numbers says a whole lot more. Fox 13's Max Roth takes an in-depth look.
When you look at 3 years of visitors to all of Utah's national parks, 2020's low number stands out, down to 5.8 million from 9.2 in 2019. So 2021's 9.5 million visitors shows a recovery to the pre-pandemic pattern. But that big number is missing a big population of visitors. Visa, the credit card company, looked at park visits from outside the country in 2016. 7% of visitors to Bryce Canyon were from outside the U.S. 6% of Zion's visitors match that description. With closed borders, those visitors are absent. Buses tell the story. Tour buses. Arches, Bryce Canyon, and Capitol Reef count everyone who enters on a tour bus, commonly holding people from other countries. In 2019, 279,000 people visited those 3 parks on buses. That number plummeted to 16,000 in 2020. In 2021, it only recovered to 39,000. That's 86% fewer bus riders than in 2019. That's terrible for the tour bus industry, but it also hurts local tourism-related businesses because that same Visa study showed that visitors who cross an ocean stay longer and spend more. 80% of visitors from Germany, France, and China make their trip into a so-called grand tour to multiple parks. Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Still had a small girl with big aspirations and a Utah dad who was not going to let his daughter give up. So he called police on her. The rest of the story you have to hear after the break.
Coming up at Sports, Donovan Mitchell will tell us which 2 NBA stars he looks up to as he tries to take his game to the next level. And while the Utes have their swagger back, moving to the top of the Pac-12 South, Cougars looking for answers against a team without a head coach. I'll explain.
Just in time to see this. The Utah County Sheriff's Office shared their newest K-9 team there. Meet Deputy Lance McDaniel and his partner, Loki, the 4-legged one. Loki is experienced in explosive detection and tracking. He just arrived from a training institute in Romania. Deputy McDaniel has been a K-9 sergeant for several years now. The Utah County Sheriff's Office said they are excited for this new partnership. Best of luck. Salt Lake International Airport now moving forward on phase 2. Today, the airport put out the call for more restaurants and shops. They have openings for 19 businesses in Concourse A East, which is set to open in 2023. Officials say that they are looking for a mix of local, regional, and national brands. Okay, if you have ever had a dream dashed, then this next story will strike a chord with you. Fox 13 met a Utah teen today who was torn down but quickly built back up in the name of the law. It's Positively Utah and only seen here on Fox 13 News.
At only 13 years old in the 8th grade, Emma Cranendonk is committed to a calling.
You have to actually want it from heart, and so that's what I want.
Following her dream
The reason why I want to be a police officer is because my family says I have a big heart.
To make law enforcement her job.
Police officers, they have to have a big heart in order to want to help people every day of their lives.
So when naysayers,
the negative comments,
doubted her career goals,
it just hurts because you want to do something in life, but people are telling you that it's the wrong thing.
Her dad, Scott, called for backup.
He wanted a female officer to come out and speak to his daughter. She had been receiving a lot of negative feedback from other family members about wanting to be a police officer.
Officer Lexi Benson with the Kaysville Police Department has walked that same line before.
I didn't have a lot of support when I wanted to get into this career.
Relating to young Emma on a personal level.
I ended up staying about an hour and just answering all her questions for her.
And giving her inspiration.
It is a great job and females can do this line of work, and hopefully I made an impact on her life.
And within that meeting, a friendship between a young hopeful and a hometown hero sealed the deal.
I can help people and stuff because I like helping my family members and stuff and my friends. So I just thought that that's a good part for me to play.
Emma finding her part in a big, big world, charged with keeping true to her heart.
Never give up, Emma. You got this. So proud of you. Very cool story. Neat to meet that little girl and her dad today as well. Allison, let's talk about the weather. A lot happening outside the windows tonight.
Yes, we could hear the rumbles of thunder earlier in the hour, or I guess earlier in the afternoon during our 5 o'clock news. We had some thunderstorms that rolled through the valley. Right now, we've got some moderate rain, Brigham City along I-15 down towards South Willard. Looks like we're in a bit of a lull right now. I am expecting things to pick up again after midnight tonight, but we still have some steady lighter snow coming down for portions of the Cottonwood Canyons out towards the western Uintas and then down into the Green River area through Canyonlands, Moab Valley. Rain, mountain snowfall for the LaSalles and East Carbon. So will this storm impact you? We're going to see our heaviest snow above 7,000 feet, especially above 8,000 feet. That's where we're going to potentially have some winter storm criteria popping up for a few hours. We do have winter weather advisories that'll be in place through noon tomorrow that are in place already for the mountains of northern Utah, including the western Uintas. So we're going to have those snow levels overnight, eventually dropping to about 5,000 feet or 5,500 feet. But the bulk of our precipitation here in the valleys will be coming down as rainfall. And also our gusty wind has subsided here across the state. Still a few pockets of some wind gusts, but not anywhere near as strong as it was earlier this afternoon. So right now what it feels like 37 in Provo, 24 for Evanston, 40 for Logan currently, 33 for Price, 30 for Cedar City and Milford, and 49 for St. George. Still a bit breezy, Lake Powell over towards southwestern Colorado and over towards Delta, but tomorrow morning here in Salt Lake I'm expecting just clouds, some rain, and we could see a little bit of that snow mixing in down to about 5,000 feet briefly tomorrow early in the morning. Now we'll have cloudy sky, becoming less cloudy during the afternoon hours by about 3-4 p.m. We'll see that sun peeking out a little bit, but overnight temps 7 a.m. tomorrow. Prepare for about 40 to 45 degrees for Ogden, Salt Lake, and Provo. So as you're sending the kids out to school tomorrow morning, send them with a warmer jacket. I would recommend some sort of jacket that if they have rain or snow coming down, that it's waterproof but warm. Something that you maybe wear if you're going to go up into the mountains for skiing or something. And by tomorrow afternoon, will be about 45 to 50, but if those kids have outdoor recess, you want to prepare them for mid to low 40s. So definitely going to be somewhat cool. But let's take a look at this setup for the storm because we're getting this counterclockwise motion. So this counterclockwise motion, that's an area of low pressure. So by 1 a.m., I'm expecting things to pick up again for the rain and snowfall. In the valleys, we're going to have some thunderstorm possibilities in the evening hours. So don't be too surprised if you hear some rumbles of thunder in the overnight hours. Hopefully that'll help you sleep without any problems in the yard. But near Snow Basin, near the top of the Cottonwood Canyons and the western Uintas. That's where we're going to see some locally higher amounts. We're mostly expecting 6 to 12 inches of snow for the mountains of far northern Utah. Now, for rain projection over the next 7 days, a couple of things to point out. California up towards Portland, look at that. Quite a bit of rainfall in that projection through the next 7 days. The bulk of that will be falling towards the end of the 7-day forecast. And for northern Utah, we'll also have some more chances for rain early next week. But our rain projection for the next 7 days is looking healthy here across northern Utah. Now, the snow projection from here on out through tomorrow night, an additional couple inches of snow for Park City, for Parley Summit, for about a 1/4 inch for Ogden, Layton, Logan, and for Provo around 1 inch of snow. The different forecast models here in Salt Lake have us all over the place. One has us at 5 inches of snow, one has us at none. So I think a trace is possible, just really depending on how much we cool overnight. And for St. George, you're close to 65 to 70 through much of your 7-day forecast. Upper 70s Thursday, Friday, and then we'll see some more chances for rain early next week. But until then, we're in the 60s Wednesday till Sunday.
The Jazz play their season opener at home on Wednesday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. This will be Donovan Mitchell's 5th season in the NBA. He knows he needs to take his game to a higher level for the Jazz to win a championship in areas he's seen from other NBA stars.
I look at, and I respect Dame Lillard, for what he's done in Portland. He's a guy that I look at, it's like, man, like he's able to make that jump. I kind of look at myself being able to make that jump. Dwayne's done it in his career, and it's great to have him, I can kind of talk to. And obviously he won a championship in his 3rd year, but, for me, those are the two guys I kind of look at who's been able to just increase and just be great leaders, smart on the ball, smart off the ball. I think as a whole, my game is improved, but there's definitely things I see, that I can continue to make the jump. My teammates have seen it. I'm making an effort, a conscious effort to get better at. That way I can be a more all-around player, more all-around leader.
College football, Utah in control of the Pac-12 South Division going into this week's game at Oregon State. The Utes on top at 3-0 after scoring 28 straight points to beat Arizona State. After 2 non-conference losses to BYU and San Diego State, the Utes now playing with a lot of confidence as they become the team they thought they could be.
It's just about finally seeing everything come to fruition. It's equally as frustrating for us as it probably is for anyone that hears about, this player's doing well during fall camp. Oh, this team could be really good, we've got this, these weapons, and then to have it not show itself in the first couple games is frustrating. So finally, when it comes to fruition, it's that idea of, okay, this wasn't just a fluke. Seeing it in person and happen under the lights just confirms everything that we thought. That's what gets you going.
BYU will try to end a 2-game losing streak against Washington State, who will be without head coach Nick Rolovich and 4 assistant coaches. They lost their jobs after refusing to get vaccinated against COVID-19, a requirement for all state employees in Washington. BYU has their own issues after getting overpowered by Baylor.
Obviously not feeling all that great about the loss, but the opportunity for us to move on and get better, perform a lot better than we did the last 2 weeks now. So I got to get off of this losing streak, and the best way to do it is get back to work, get to practice, work hard, stay focused on our next opponent, and then also learn from the mistakes and shortcomings that we had over the weekend against Baylor. We didn't match their physical presence well enough to earn a victory.
It'll be interesting to see how Washington State looks without their head coach, 4 assistant coaches this Saturday against BYU.
Big change. Jeff, thanks. We'll be right back. Well, finally tonight, Riverton Police having a little fun here with their skeletons. They set them up to play football right outside of their headquarters. That guy's open. You see him. We're told the spooky display is changed regularly to keep people guessing. Makes it fun for the community.
On their toes.
Thanks, everyone. That's right. Thanks for being with us. Quick Cast is next.